What's up everyone, Tony here, and today we are going to take a deeper look at both Night City Wire episodes 3 and 4. I've been a bit busy over the last couple of weeks getting boring real life stuff out of the way so that I'm fully prepared and ready to crank out content come November with the launch of new consoles and of course Cyberpunk 2077. And yes, that is finally confirmed as we've learned that the game has officially, at long last, gone gold. No more delays, kids. It's finally happening. It's an exciting time to be sure, but in the meantime, I've fallen behind on my Night City Wire recap, so screw it. I've decided I'm gonna give you all 2 for the price of 1. I really need to catch up here, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. We'll save the all-new Night City Wire Episode 4 for last. Night City Wire Episode 3 is split into 3 parts. The first is a tour of Night City, giving us a closer look at the various districts we'll explore and all the different people we'll be meeting. Next, we dive into the gangs found in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. This trailer is basically another overview of the game's world, but this time through the lens of the many different gangs that roam the streets of Night City. Finally, we end on a short segment showing off some of the crazy Cyberpunk PC case mods fans have managed to create, as well as the reveal of the game's minimum and recommended specs for PC players. It's a really short section and there's not much to it, so I'm going to take the opportunity here in today's video to give some thoughts on the PC and next-gen versions of Cyberpunk 2077 and how I intend to play and capture footage of the game once I get my hands on it. But for now, let's begin with the Postcards from Night City trailer. It appears the broadcasts in 2077 are like the logical evolution of the most obnoxious YouTubers out there, and boy does that sound right at home in the dystopian cyberpunk future.
Oh my god, Juanita here. Today's news is Novamax.
I feel amazing.
Oh my god, Juanita here.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. God.
We get a lot of what has become probably my favorite part of any Night City Wire video, establishing shots. CD Projekt Red has clearly crafted this city so meticulously that pulling out the camera damn near anywhere is going to create some concept art-esque shots of this world. It looks incredible, and from flipping through my World of Cyberpunk 2077 art book, it continues to be very clear that CD Projekt Red has some next level artists working on this game. That book will be coming up a lot during this video as it fills in a lot of the blanks left by these Night City Wire episodes. As we continue through the trailer, we see that Lester from Los Santos has found residence in Night City and has aged pretty gracefully. Good for him. We also get a look at another chrome-skinned individual here on a talk show. This is something the World of Cyberpunk book goes into greater detail on. In this world, the very biggest celebrities are brain dance stars. It's pretty understandable after all, the people who engage in a brain dance literally get to live a day in the life of these stars or even have intimate relationships with them. Ultimately, these brain dance influencers are pushing the limits of fashion as well, with many of them installing cyberware strictly for cosmetic purposes. The chrome look is what's known as a total dermal replacement and seems to be a high fashion look here in 2077. I'll say it again, they better let us give RV a total dermal replacement. Imagine the ray-traced reflections we'd see off those bodies biking down the streets of Night City. Bruh. Next up, we see some action at the club, and these dancing animations look way too detailed. I fully expect a number of unlockable emotes and dance moves in the final game. I would love to see something like Destiny, where activating an emote pulls the camera out to third person. It will be a fun and easy way to get a look at your character and all the glorious customization you've applied to them. Along with dancing at a rave, we get quick cuts of all your classic cyberpunk motifs. drugs, drinking, scantily clad women. Quite frankly, I'd expect no shortage of all these things in the final game. Oh, and I almost forgot. Crime and violence. We'll find a lot of that here in Night City too. We get a great little montage showing some of that violence off, along with more stunning Cyberpunk 2077 character designs. Everyone continues to look cool as hell in this game, and seeing all these characters in rapid succession is a great way to show off that god tier design work. This trailer truly is a perfect tour of Night City, showing off both the city itself with all those great establishing shots, as well as the people who inhabit it. I think all of these characters are even more important than the city design itself when it comes to establishing a tone and showing the player what exactly this game's world is all about. As the trailer wraps up, we see a rare shot from the game featuring grass and trees. I suspect this is all artificial, but it's cool to see some of these more naturalistic areas in the game as well. We've seen similar looking areas in the concept art, but shots of the gameplay have been almost entirely of the cold city itself or the dead desert land surrounding it. I think this is simply a case of CD Projekt Red keeping some of the more visually distinct areas we'll explore a secret. Later in the video, they make it clear that variety between districts is very important to them and a driving force between how they've approached building Night City. It's all done to keep things fresh and mixed up over the course of hundreds of hours spent playing the game. They don't want players exploring a samey, generic city, and thankfully I think this variety absolutely comes across with this trailer. It's just an onslaught of imagery. Everything is unique. No two areas of the city or people in this world are the same, and there's just an unreal attention to detail that really comes across every time I see new footage from the game. It certainly feels like Cyberpunk has been cooking for 8 years, and it really shows with this trailer. Next up is the second part of Night City Wire Episode 3, and to me, the real meat of this video, the Gangs of Night City trailer. The trailer runs for about 4 minutes and overall is pretty similar in format to the postcards from Night City trailer. Once again, we're basically given a cinematic, stylized look at some of the various different locations we'll be exploring throughout Cyberpunk. But this time the information is shared with us through the lens of 8 totally distinct gangs that exist in this world. We'll come across these gangs playing through the main story, side quests, and of course, just roaming around the game's map. Each of these gangs have distinct looks, different philosophies, their own unique ways of making money, and are centrally located in their own specific areas of Night City and the surrounding Badlands. The trailer gives us a solid glimpse of these 8 gangs and generally what they're all about, but this is where that World of Cyberpunk 2077 art book really comes in handy. The book has an entire section dedicated to the gangs of Night City, and in addition to some more fantastic concept art, also totally fleshes each gang out and fills in a lot of the blanks left by this Gangs of Night City trailer. In fact, the book even tells us the actual reason why there are so many damn gangs controlling the streets of Night City in 2077. Apparently, it all dates back to a recession from way back in the early 2020s. Companies were shutting down across the country and thousands lost their jobs. Well, hey, thank goodness this is all just science fiction. Come on, a recession where millions lose their jobs in the early 2020s? It would never happen. Anyways, with all the unemployed out there looking for jobs, obviously not everyone could land one, and so they turned to gangs. Now there's gangsters all over the damn place. Let's take a look at each gang and I'll break down everything we've learned about them from both the trailer and the art book. First up is the Melstrom Gang, and anyone who has been following Cyberpunk 2077 up to now should be pretty familiar with these dudes. They were heavily featured in the 48-minute gameplay demo from 2018, and now we learn a bit more about them and how they operate. Jackie tells us that he once saw someone from the Melstrom Gang kill a kid in front of him. Well, that's just wonderful. Cyberpunk 2077 really sounds like the feel-good, family-friendly game we were all looking for here in 2020. Yeah, this section here where I break down super violent gangs and what horrendous crimes they're known for ain't gonna be pretty, so yeah, you've been warned. As per the world of Cyberpunk 2077, the gang has approximately 1,300 members, and their threat level is extreme. Considering they seem to have no problem killing children, that sounds pretty accurate. Their cyberware of choice includes paint editors, cyber optics, and reflex boosters. Just by looking at one of them, it's pretty clear what these dudes are all about. They're absolutely addicted to illegal cyberware, and if a Melstrom Gang member doesn't already have cyberpsychosis, they'll probably have it real soon. In addition to the cyberware implants, there is a clear black metal influence on the look of the gang, which we can see through their hairstyles, tattoos, and in some cases their clothing as well. Black, leather, spikes, black leather jackets with spikes. It's all there. There's a pretty clear analog between the installation of cyber implants here in Cyberpunk and the use of illicit drugs in our world. The Melstrom Gang is obsessed with cyber technology and look to improve their so-called weak flesh with cyberware. They do so in the pursuit of otherworldly sensations, and even though cyberpsychosis is a well-known condition in this world, the Melstrom Gang really doesn't seem to care. They're just chasing that high. Speaking of getting high, the Melstrom Gang's main source of revenue is, you guessed it, selling illegal meds and drugs. They also take hit jobs that they supposedly execute in brutal fashion. Dismemberment, skinning the victim alive, drowning them in wet concrete. You know, the classics. Like I said, sounds like fun for the whole family. Apparently they also host neo-death metal parties that other gangs are invited to, and they also seem to be behind the production of black market brain dance records that are incredibly disturbing and violent. Quite the interesting bunch these Melstrom lads are. Next up, we have the Valentinos. It appears Jackie actually got his gangster start as a member of this gang, and it looks like he's not alone. There are a whopping 6,000 members of the Valentinos gang, one of the largest in all of Night City. Thankfully, they aren't nearly as nutty as the Melstrom Gang, and only hold a medium to high threat level. You'll find them dressed in colorful clothes, cruising down the street in lowriders, and rocking silver and gold-plated weaponry, both guns and cyberware. Though all are welcome to join the gang, the vast majority are of Mexican descent, and thus they regularly celebrate various Mexican holidays. There's a strong familial bond between the members. They are loyal to their community, and their main sources of income are pretty legitimate, with many operating restaurants, auto shops, and nightclubs, among other businesses. But of course, they're also involved in Night City's underworld and use the businesses they own as fronts for gun smuggling, car theft, prostitution, hits, and so on. The worst thing a member of the gang could do is betray another Valentino. You're pretty much dead meat at that point. Like, you're done. On the other hand, a Valentino that is killed by cops or another gang member is celebrated and immortalized through street art that we'll come across while exploring Night City. 6th Street carries a medium threat level, and boy do they love America, and boy do they love them some guns. There's about 2,300 of them, and prominent members include Will Gunner, Rick Morton, and Matt Dodges. They sound like 80s action movie characters and look like them too. In case it wasn't obvious, 6th Street are patriotic as hell and often found dressed in military uniforms with an American flag proudly displayed somewhere on their body. Most members of the gang are veterans, retired military, discharged officers, or regular civilians with military training. 6th Street seems to get along with the Night City police, as they tend to take the law into their own hands, which basically just means taking out other gang members as they see fit. Interestingly, 6th Street seems to offer help to mercs and edge runners looking for more firepower, so it wouldn't surprise me if V has to work together with a group of 6th Street members at some point during the game's story. We got a glimpse of the Voodoo Boys and their whole operation in the 15-minute deep dive video, and I'll be honest, I always thought these guys looked cool as hell. They definitely have that slick, black trench coat Matrix vibe about them, and that's a plus in my book. Their threat level is actually considered low, but that changes to extreme when they enter cyberspace. Cyberspace is still almost a complete mystery as we head into the final month of pre-launch hype for Cyberpunk 2077. Outside of some visuals like we see here, and the fact that the Voodoo Boys specifically have a strong association with it, I suspect all the real details will be left as a surprise for when we get our hands on the final game. They are an extremely exclusive gang with an estimated 50 to 250 members in total, and their goals are pretty much unknown to the outside world. One defining characteristic is the fact that they consist entirely of members with Haitian heritage. In the world of Cyberpunk, Haiti was actually wiped off the face of the earth due to climate change, and so the Voodoo Boys take it upon themselves to protect all Haitian refugees that make their way into Night City. They operate out of the Pacifica district of Night City, which has become a new Haiti of sorts. It's also an area that actually lacks any police involvement whatsoever. Their primary source of income is through hacking databanks and acquiring more and more elusive secret data. One thing is widely known about the gang, and that's the fact that they are devoted to uncovering the secrets of the so-called Old Net. To do so, they perform net running operations, and that's where mercenaries like V come into the picture. The mystery of the Voodoo Boys, to me at least, is absolutely one of the most intriguing aspects of Cyberpunk's story so far, and I really look forward to learning more about this mysterious group. From the trailer, it sounds like the Voodoo Boys have been running into trouble with the animals, the resident juice heads of Night City. To the surprise of absolutely no one, animal cyberware of choice include pain editors, combat drug injectors, and augmented cyber limbs. They're known for street fighting, and so they install enhancements for combat purposes. Oh, and they're also fans of ultra testosterone and horse steroids. Big shocker, I know. They make their money from cage fights and selling steroids, and of course, as hired muscle. The animal's name seems to be pretty literal. They're interested in breaking down the border between man and animal. I guess by injecting a ton of horse steroids, they intend to become the most dominant species. The strength and brutality of a powerful, bloodthirsty animal combined with the mind of a human, I guess. Also, like animals, they travel in packs, led by an alpha male or female who is the biggest and strongest of the bunch. The gang consists of about 3,000 members and has recently made their presence known in South Pacifica, which is Voodoo Boys' turf. It sounds like the beef between the animals and the Voodoos will play out during Cyberpunk's main story, and both V and Johnny will find themselves caught in between the two gangs. Next up is the Tiger Claws, a massive gang of 5,500. They operate out of Night City's Japantown, and from looking at this concept art, the Yakuza inspiration is abundantly clear. Much like the Yakuza, they operate through a code of honor, but that doesn't mean every member of the gang necessarily obeys that code. They're known by their tattoos, use of katanas, and their street bikes. We get a glimpse of one of them here in the trailer, and boy, do I never get tired of seeing third-person shots like this from Cyberpunk. This looks so good. Japantown is Night City's premier nightlife district, and the Tigers own more businesses than any other gang. Everything from bars to braindance clubs to casinos. They make their money legitimately, but of course also use these businesses as a front for prostitution, human trafficking, and drug dealing. The The Tiger Claws also have a close relationship with the higher-ups at Arasaka, who often outsource jobs to the gang and pay them with exclusive military-grade weapons. I get the feeling this Arasaka Tiger Claw relationship will be explored further in the game's main story. The Tiger Claws also seem to have had their fair share of altercations with our next gang, the Mox. This is another gang we've seen a lot, mainly thanks to V's close relationship with Judy. At only 250 members, the Mox is one of the more close-knit gangs in Night City, and they operate almost entirely out of one single location, and that is Lizzie's Bar, a place we'll be visiting during the opening hours of the game. Visually, the Mox is definitely one of the more fashionable gangs, with most members looking like they just stepped out of a Lady Gaga music video. Definitely some pop star fashion going on here, and I approve. It sounds like members of the Mox gang, upon closer inspection, have heavily modified bodies to help them in combat, though the upgrades are disguised with what's appropriately known as real skin, which I figure is a body modification that hides your cybernetic upgrades by making it appear that you have regular old normal human skin. The gang was formed after the death of Elizabeth Borden, which Lizzie's Bar is named in dedication to. After one of Lizzie's girls was raped and murdered by a member of Tiger Claw, Lizzie retaliated by killing 3 members of the gang and displaying their bodies in front of her club. The Tigers didn't like that very much and killed Elizabeth as a result. Her successors would rebuild her place, name it after her, and Lizzie's Bar and the Mox Gang was born, consisting primarily of sex workers and sexual minorities that felt threatened and oppressed. Their primary source of income is Lizzie's Bar, which is now an exclusive brain dance club. We then take a quick look at some of the gangs that operate specifically in the Badlands surrounding Night City. These are nomad groups that we'll come across over the course of the game, or at the very beginning of the game if you choose the nomad life path. While I certainly wouldn't consider these nomad groups as fashionable as the gangs of Night City proper, CD Projekt Red's character design nevertheless does not disappoint. These crazy hillbillies look cool as hell. The Aldocaldos is a massive gang with tens of thousands of members and focus on manual farm labor, bootlegging, and transporting stolen goods through the use of heavily modified cars and bikes to make their living. Not much is known about the Wraiths, but they make their money from highway robberies, and I absolutely love their designs. CD Projekt Red needs to sell these masks in real life. That is easy money. Hi there, I'm Thrasher, I'm a member of the Wraiths, and you could help prevent the spread of coronavirus by wearing a mask. Whoa, okay, so that is a lot of uniquely crafted groups we'll be coming across in Cyberpunk 2077, and I think they're all pretty interesting in their own unique ways. The question is this all of them? Or will we come across even more in the final game that CD Projekt Red is keeping a secret pre-launch? Interestingly, there's one gang that is actually covered in the World of Cyberpunk book that wasn't mentioned in Night City Wire Episode 3, and that is the Scavengers. This gang is presented like they're a super mystery. The book doesn't even have a logo for them. Much of the info provided for the other gangs are not provided for them, and there's just a small handful of concept art for us to see. As the name would suggest, Scavengers harvest cyberware and organs off other people. And yeah, that's exactly as nasty as you're imagining. They have no regard for human life and basically see other people as useless flesh bolted to that sweet, valuable cyberware that they can later resell on the black market. Not much is known about the group because they don't really have specific turf or an internal hierarchy like all the others. They operate in secret, sell their ill-gotten goods without leaving a trace, and then it's on to the next one. Okay, so now that we know all about these gangs, the next question is obvious. Can V join any of them? Unfortunately, the answer is no, but there's a pretty good reason for that. You see, V is a merc. Mercs are people who mostly keep to themselves and are willing to kickstart a relationship with damn near anyone if it means a job for them. Fixers, gangs, or other influential clients like Militech are all fair game. Gangs ain't about that life. They don't trust mercs. They're looking for people who are actually loyal to a single group and not someone like V who is just going to show up wherever it is most profitable for him. Luckily, what V fully does have the ability to do is dress like the gang of his choosing. That's right, it sounds like at some point we'll be able to make our V look like this or this. Perfect. I am truly hyped to customize my V, jump on a bike, and fully enjoy the style of my beautiful cyberpunk creation. Let's wrap up the Night City Wire Episode 3 recap by talking a bit about the PC version of the game. CD Projekt Red revealed the minimum and recommended specs for the PC version of Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm not really sure how much this tells us. In this case, the meaning behind minimum and recommended is very vague. What resolution and frame rate do these specs target? Does this take NVIDIA's DLSS technology into consideration? And of course, what effects are turned on, and can we expect to get a playable experience with ray tracing cranked up to the max with these recommended specs? I'm doubtful, but hopefully we'll learn more about how the game runs on PC and what kind of hardware is going to be needed to run this game at max settings as we get closer and closer to launch. Since my last video here on the channel, a lot has gone down in the world of next-gen gaming hardware. Xbox Series X and PS5 pre-orders went live, and they were a disaster. NVIDIA released the new RTX 3080 and 3090 video cards, and that was a disaster too. Of course, Cyberpunk will be fully playable on current-gen consoles, and if you were lucky enough to secure a pre-order, next-gen consoles will provide certain enhancements in November, though the proper next-gen patch that really takes advantage of the new hardware won't be released until sometime in 2021. I'm assuming that will bring some form of ray tracing to the next-gen versions of the game. But until that patch comes out, if you want the full ray-traced, top-of-the-line visual experience that I think a game like Cyberpunk deserves, you're going to need a beefy PC. That means one of those 30 series cards that is built to handle ray-traced effects at high resolutions. Though in that case, you'd also have to be one of the precious few who were lucky enough to get an order in, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be any significant stock for those cards before 2021. Well, luckily here on the channel, everyone who struck out on a 3080 can live vicariously through me. By some divine miracle, I was able to secure an RTX 3090. I have seen the light of Red Dead Redemption 2 running at 8K, and it's pretty good. Now, I didn't intend to get a 3090, I wanted a 3080, but one thing led to another, and now, honestly, I'm happy I have anything at all, given the shortages of stock for these cards. Did I get lucky? Yes. Did I spend way too much money on a card that probably isn't worth it given the performance? Yes. But did I do it all for the good of the channel and the entertainment of you, the people? Absolutely yes. The 3090 is mainly going to help me with my video editing, streaming, and all that good stuff, but it's also an absolute beast of a gaming card. I'm absolutely crushing pretty much everything I throw at it. Control, with all ray traced effects turned on, runs at a rock solid 60 FPS at 1440p. Sadly, 4K is still a struggle to run a game like Control at 60 FPS with ray tracing on. But thanks to NVIDIA's crazy DLSS technology, I actually can hit that 4K 60 threshold. Now, as gorgeous as Control may be, and as demanding those effects may be, I'm going into Cyberpunk expecting it to be one of the most demanding games ever released. It's a giant open world game, truly pushing the limits of visuals for this entire medium with ray traced effects all over the place. Even the mighty RTX 3090 might crack under the pressure of Night City. But damn it, it's the best GPU money could buy here in 2020, so we are gonna make this work. As of right now, here's the plan. Barring some miracle where I'm able to get a copy of the console version early, I'm going to be running and recording footage of Cyberpunk 2077 off the PC version with all effects turned on at hopefully a solid 4K 60 frames per second. Now, I might have to experiment with some of that DLSS magic to hit those stupidly high numbers, or perhaps optimize the game by turning off unnoticeable but resource-intensive settings here and there. The primary goal and the reason why I did not hesitate on buying a 3090 is that I definitely want to present a high-resolution, high-frame-rate, ray-traced version of the game for all of you. I think after all the hype, it's what this game deserves. At the very worst, should the game be way too expensive to run at 4K, I might have to turn it down to 1440p to get that silky smooth 60 FPS. But no lower. RTX 3090, you thick bastard, you're about to go to work. Okay, so the plan is set. Come November here on the channel, you're going to be getting the best damn Cyberpunk video, guides, and content in the whole wide world thanks to this beast. Oh, and me, I guess. Probably pulling multiple all-nighters in a row and not eating or drinking or breathing. Okay, enough on that. The game is going to look good here on the channel. That's all you need to know. Now it's time to jump into the brand spanking new Night City Wire Episode 4. Night City Wire Episode 4 is split into two distinct parts. First and foremost, this episode's focus is a super detailed look at the vehicles we'll be driving around Night City, with both a ton of new gameplay footage and a ton of behind-the-scenes making of footage. It is clear that a lot of work went into making these vehicles both look and sound as good as they do. After all the vehicle talk, we get a breakdown of the various styles and fashion we'll come across in Night City. We kinda got a good sense of the fashion of 2077 when we looked at all of those gangs, but this little trailer here goes even deeper, breaking down the world's class structure and the styles associated with each. And it's so good. This game has style. 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 And I love me some style. It's in the name there for a reason. Once again, that brilliant art direction comes across so incredibly well in a feature like this. So let's begin with those cars. Vehicles are separated into 5 different classes: economy, executive, heavy duty, sport, and hypercars. I think the names alone tell pretty much the whole story. If you've played any GTA game, you probably know exactly how this goes. You have your crappy, inexpensive, slower cars that handle poorly but are very common, and then your supercars that go stupidly fast, handle well, and cost a pretty penny, and then everything in between. We get a number of screens like this, breaking down key information about each vehicle, their manufacturer, but perhaps most importantly from a gameplay perspective, each vehicle will have a weight and horsepower number associated with them. I'm hoping this information will be easy to find in-game, or else I'll have to make a video breaking down the most powerful vehicles in Cyberpunk 2077. And honestly, that's fine by me. Now, numbers and classes and lore is all well and good, but the main appeal of this trailer is obvious. The visuals on display here are absolutely out of this world. I think it's safe to say this is the most impressive visual showcase for the game we've seen yet. We're close enough to launch that I can't imagine any of this is not indicative of the final game. The driving looks amazing in all of these shots. The city looks incredible. The dashboards and interiors are all meticulously detailed. The motion blur looks great. The ray tracing is on full display. It's all there. This is it. 8 years of development and design work from CD Projekt Red brought to life with cutting-edge PC hardware. I'm also more sure than ever that a third-person mode will be added to the game at some point. You can't deny how incredible these third-person shots while driving make this game look. If you ever wanted to get an idea of what a true next-gen GTA title could look like visually, look no further than this trailer. Really, what more is there to say? I know I'll be watching this footage specifically again and again over the next month. Pure hype right here. We go on to learn the dashboard you find inside a specific car model could differ depending on where in the game's world you find it. A stock interior could be found in Night City, while the very same car, if found in the Badlands, could have everything ripped out and replaced with a modded interior. It'll be cool to see the different takes on the same vehicle. I suspect car modding in general is going to be a massive rabbit hole to go down when we get our hands on the final game. Next up, we get a behind-the-scenes feature showing how CD Projekt Red is bringing the look and sound of Cyberpunk's various vehicles to life. There's a strong desire to make these cars sound organic and really capture that sound we are all familiar with from a combustion engine. Now, I'm not sure how realistic that is for a game taking place in 2077, but who cares? Loud cars are cool. Now, while the cars may roar in a way we're all familiar with, the exterior and interior design elements for each vehicle factor in the futuristic element of the game's world, bringing everything together into one perfect package. But of course, there are some exceptions, namely Johnny Silverhand's vehicle of choice. Indeed, CD Projekt Red has announced a collaboration with none other than Porsche. And Johnny will be driving around an authentic 1977 911 Porsche, making it a 100-year-old vehicle in the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Now that's retro. Celebrities from today should totally drive around a Model T. Come on, LeBron, that would be pimp. Anyways, as you'd expect, the car looks absolutely perfect and damn near photorealistic with all of the lighting effects we have going on in this game. I think it's great to have this reference point for vehicles in a AAA open world game and its real life equivalent. Modders are really going to have to step it up if they want to compare with something like this. Of course, real licensed cars appearing in video games are a rarity, especially in a game like GTA or Cyberpunk where you're gonna be shooting, crashing, and blowing up vehicles on a regular basis. Even after selling over 135 million copies, GTA has to stick with the fictional car brands, as real-life car manufacturers absolutely refuse to have their vehicles shown in any damaged state in a video game, or have the blood and guts of a random pedestrian splattered all over their brand. So that begs the question, can we drive around the Porsche in Cyberpunk 2077, or will it only be a vehicle we see Johnny drive from time to time? If we can drive it, will it be a totally invincible vehicle that can't be damaged? Or will the golden rule of licensed cars in video games be broken and we'll be able to damage, or dare I say destroy, the Porsche? Can I run people over and douse the hood of the 911 with the blood of the innocent? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In addition to Porsche, CD Projekt Red is also collaborating with real-life custom motorcycle manufacturer Arch. Just browsing their website, I can definitely see some of these designs feeling right at home in the world of Cyberpunk. One person who's excited for damn sure is Keanu Reeves. Damn, Keanu has that next level quarantine look going on in this feature. What a legend. It feels like bikes are going to be so important in this game, given that they're one of the few ways we'll be able to get a full glimpse of our character outside of the first-person view. Just look at this montage of bike footage. Ah, so beautiful. I'm really happy to see how seriously CD Projekt Red is taking the design of these things. We have the Arch collaboration, we have the Akira bike. It's good stuff. So now that we know damn near all there is to know about vehicles in Cyberpunk, it's time to jump into the second part of Night City Wire Episode 4, which takes a look at the style of 2077. It's a lot shorter than the vehicle segment, still interesting nonetheless. First things first, we appear to get a look at the final game's character creator screen. This thing has seen a number of different looks over the years, but I like what they've settled on for the final version. I look forward to spending way too much time sitting on this screen and stressing about making my V look just right. The narrator goes over a brief history of the various styles of Night City. It's an important aspect of the city and can be found everywhere, in guns, cars, clothes, and implants. We're then introduced to the 4 distinct styles that seem to dominate the world of Cyberpunk, each associated with a poster, which are awesome pieces of concept art from the game that have been floating around for years now. First up is kitsch. Neon hair, illuminated tattoos, and chrome. Basically, the streetwear of 2077. We saw kitsch fashion on full display from the Melstrom Gang, the Tiger Claws, and really a lot of characters in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. Next, we have Entropism, a quote-unquote style born from the fallout of the 4th Corporate War. Now, I'm not gonna get into the events and lore that shaped this world from prior to 2077, because we'd be here for another hour. That could be a whole separate video. Long story short, Night City got nuked, and so a lot of people found themselves in a real bad situation. With so many just trying to survive day after day, a whole new style became commonplace in and around Night City. The who cares style. The lack of style. Great. I guess if you want to dress like Trevor Phillips, you can here in Cyberpunk 2077. Next up is Neomilitarism, and this is more like it. We are looking at some oppressive, dystopian, trillion-dollar mega-corporation fashion right here, and I'm all for it. This is the wealthy corporate style of Night City, which we got a taste of when we looked at the corpo life path for V. Lots of black, lots of tight-fitting suits. It's just a cold, slick look overall. And hey, there's the Arasaka Memorial. I guess that's where they dropped the nuke. Finally, we have Neo-Kitsch, the style of the rich and famous. Brain dance stars, heirs to corporate fortunes, pet jaguars. They abandoned the cold, colorless neo-militarism look and returned to kitsch, except they're all billionaires so they look even cooler. Maxillomandibular implants, the chrome skin total dermal replacement look. Pure neo-kitsch. I can only imagine neo-kitsch clothing items will be the most expensive and hard to get for your V, and I can't wait to buy them all. The trailer ends with a post-credit scene of sorts. V awakens from a netrunning session with the Voodoo Boys and flashes back to scenes from the game involving Jackie, Victor Vector, and Dex Deshawn. Have I mentioned that this game looks good? Because it looks real good. November 19th, can't come soon enough. So, there you have it. Night City Wire episodes 3 and 4. Yeah, that is a lot of information to take in, I know. And yet it still just feels like we're only scratching the surface of what this massive world will have to offer us. That's gonna wrap it up for today's video, but the Cyberpunk 2077 hype train is completely out of control right now, and it ain't stopping as we head into the final month before the game's launch. If you like this video and want to see more awesome Cyberpunk 2077 content, videos, breakdowns, and soon guides, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel because I have a ton of stuff in the works. Like I said before, my thick boy 3090 is at the ready to present this game to all of you in the best possible light. Literally. I'm going to turn that ray tracing up so high the neon lights of Night City will burn my eyes out. It's going to be an exciting next 30 days to be sure, but that's going to wrap it up for today. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much to all 40,000 plus of you for all of the support, and take care.